With great pleasure and honor that I would like to introduce Katrina John West from Bissell Centre that will be presenting on Bissell Housing Program. And I'm looking forward to the learnings today from you. Thank you. Thanks so much,
Kelly. Okay. Thank you, Reach, for having me. So, I'm Katrina. I'm the manager of our houselessness prevention and housing support programs. Really excited to share. We have a lot of amazing programs, so it's going to be a bit of an information overload. So to start it off, I'm going to do a bit of a hands-on activity. So I'm going to need some volunteers, but you get to sit in your chair and you don't need to talk, and you get to play with Play-Doh or clay. I'm not really sure which one it is. So if I can have 3 or 4 people. Okay, I have a volunteer. Oh, okay. Perfect. Great. Anyone else? Yeah? Okay, perfect. And I'm pretty horrible at anything artistic, so I'm probably going to be the worst at this. But what I want you guys to do, the people that have this, I want you to make a heart with it. So however you envision a heart, that's going to be different for each person. But let's shape it up. And you know what? Let me start my timer, because I timed this specifically because I don't want to be taking up too much time tonight. So you can see I've tried this before. So I already got my heart going. Perfect. Oh, that one's a really nice one. Awesome. I see one in the back. Perfect. Nice. Okay, great. So we all have similar looking ones. Okay, now we're going to put it back into kind of where it was before, just a little bit of a blob. And this time I want you to make a heart again, but with one hand. So we're going to get rid of your other hand. It's going to be a little bit trickier this time. So try to strategize, use what you got. Okay, mine is a little bit of a deformed heart, but you can kind of make it work. Have any other successes? Okay, wow, that one's actually really good. I'm impressed. Are you an artist? I feel like you're like a clay, just both of you guys, that's awesome. Okay, nice. That's okay, I had the worst heart. Okay, so now this is gonna be the hardest part. I'm gonna get you guys to put it back into that position. And this time, you guys have to put your hands into 2 fists. And you have to strategize. You can maybe use the chair in front of you. You can use just your hands together, but I want you to make a heart. You can, yeah, maybe use the table. I do want you to be, if you put it on your clothes, it doesn't stain, but it does rub off on it. So just be mindful of that. So this is a lot more tricky, obviously. While we're trying to do this, I want you guys to picture. So me, I'm looking for an apartment. Okay, so I want a 1-bedroom suite. I want something affordable right now. Average rent is almost $1,200. So, you know, I'm checking Facebook Marketplace, I'm checking Kijiji, I'm checking all the spots, calling landlords, making some viewings. I got a good spot. Okay, I'm gonna go check it out. I have my landlord checks. I have my employment verification. I have decent credit. I have a phone. I have a car to take me there. I show up, love the place. Okay, I'm gonna put in an offer. Now in contrast, I want you to picture someone that's living rough, living in encampments. The only, you know, shower or clothes that they have access to is in our community space. So their clothes might not fit as well. It might not be super clean. They don't have a phone. The only access they have to a computer is the library. So if they're trying to find a place, they're going to the library. Okay, that looks nice, but how am I going to contact them now? I'm going to go try to find a phone. Okay, I'm going to book a viewing. How am I going to get there? And when I show up, I don't have any references. And so this is who they're competing with. Right now we have an extremely low vacancy rate, so there's high competition. And so that's where we come in. As you can see, yeah, I failed. I'm just giving up. I see some people still trying. But what we're doing is for people that have those hands tied and they have so many challenges and barriers, we come in with that extra pair of hands. And we're trying to assist them through those challenges. And our goal is really so that they can have those two hands at the end, so they don't need us. That's our main goal. That's kind of the backbone of our housing programs at Bissell Centre. Okay, not bad. What? That was with one hand? Oh my gosh. Yeah, that deserves a round of applause, these two. Probably in like some art, pottery school. Did you get back there? Okay, yeah, pretty good. Okay, so I want you guys to just have that in your back of the mind while I go through this. So a quick agenda, I'm going to look at our mission. It's actually just newly rolled out. We have a new strategic plan. Housing first, what it is, what is the current situation today in Edmonton. A look at our programs. We have quite a few of them, so I'm going to do just a quick summary of them and show you guys where you can get more information. Challenges and barriers that we face. As you know, probably know, there are many in this sector and the people that we work with, and then a time for questions. So this is our newly rolled out mission. So working in community, we remove barriers and support people as they move out of poverty. So exactly as that activity illustrated, that's what we're doing. We're trying to take down those barriers. We're trying to put in those supports, resources, connection towards people that really are struggling. What is housing first? So I know many of you guys are service providers, so that's common language in this sector. But really, it's a recovery-oriented approach that really mandates, let's move someone to housing right away with no preconditions. Once they're housed, now let's work on getting them the supports they need to stabilize that housing. This screenshot comes from the Homeward Trust website, so I encourage you guys to take a look at it. They have a lot of good data there. But as you can see, currently, as of last week, there's over 3,000 people that are houseless in Edmonton, which is a pretty alarming number. 57% of those are provisionally accommodated, which means they're under care from the government. So they're either in a prison or a hospital. And then as you can also see, that kind of pinkish color, 21%, so 648 people are living rough. They're living in the streets. They're not accessing shelters. They're living in the River Valley. You guys, I'm sure, have seen them in the tents. And this is largely attributed to we do not have enough beds at night. There's not enough beds to meet the demand. On the left side of things, we see how many people have been housed. So you can see there's still positive news, even when there's this big challenge ahead of us. So in this last month, 100 folks were housed. But then if you contrast that, 332 people came into houselessness. And we can also contribute that to the wildfires that we had last month. So this is our Bissell housing stability spectrum. We have low intervention, and sorry, I didn't realize there's all these little fancy things to it, but low intervention to high intervention. That's how we classify our programs at Bissell. So low intervention, we're talking about less hands-on supports, less wraparound, more shorter interventions. And then when we're talking about high intervention, it's wraparound supports, long-term care, permanent care. So I'm going to be touching base on all of these programs. And then as you can see at the bottom there, we have financial empowerment. Financial empowerment is embedded within all our programs, and different FE interventions are practiced depending on where someone is at. All our supports are client-centered and provide a harm reduction focus. I know you guys all know this kind of language, but it's really making sure that participants are the drivers of their success. We're working on their goals, we're working on their strengths, and then we're providing that harm reduction. So we're trying to reduce the harm of any high-risk activity that they might be partaking in. So giving them access to supports, giving them access to education, and safety measures is really important for the folks that we work with. Okay, so jumping in, we have financial empowerment. So financial empowerment isn't a super well-known concept, but it's growing popularity in the last 5 years or so. So it's an evidence-based approach to poverty reduction that focuses on improving the financial security of low-income people. When I talk about financial security, I'm talking about financial capability, so their knowledge and skills, their financial literacy. I'm talking about financial inclusion. So a lot of people don't even have bank accounts, so getting them access to a bank is huge. And then asset building. As we know, it's so hard to save just on a normal income. And so trying to find ways to, reduce their debt. If they have children, set them up with an RESP so they get a $2,000 grant for themselves. Things like that. We also do financial literacy and coaching training for all our frontline staff across the agency, not only housing. So this is a 4-day course where you learn about budget, savings, debt, credit, fraud, the history of the economic system, all these huge components that a lot of folks didn't learn in schooling. And to know that is really important when we're supporting folks in the community. And then financial coaching is how to have those one-on-one conversations. As we know, talking about finances can be vulnerable, it's intimidating. And so being able to figure out, okay, what are the strategies and tools that I can use to do this? So those one-on-one financial coaching sessions, we can help them access benefits, work on any financial goals they have. We have financial literacy workshops for any participants to access. And then we have our amazing tax clinic that operates every Monday. Last year, we returned over $6 million back to the community through that program. Yeah, very exciting numbers, and just shows the need and demand for that service. Community Bridge. So Community Bridge is our eviction, utility disconnection, and foreclosure prevention supports. It was started in 2014. We actually have an amazing Community Bridge support worker in our front row right here. But it's a financial empowerment focused program. And so if someone has an eviction notice, they come to us, we figure out first, okay, how did they get here, right? Was it a senior that was just defrauded? Was it a single parent that's just can't manage their money right now? It's very limited. Did someone just lose their job and EI is not kicking in until the next month? There's so many different people that we see through this program. And what we do is work on a budget, work on any savings tool, access to any benefits that they should be accessing so they can build that money that they have every month. And then we're the liaison with their creditors, so with their landlords. We're making landlord calls and trying to advocate, can you give us a few more days for this eviction? We're gonna help them, we're just gonna need a bit more time. Or can you actually reduce the rent a little bit? Is there any possible way? Or reduce the debt owed? As well as leveraging external support, so accessing Alberta Works, the Good Neighbor Fund, St. Vincent de Paul, the church funds. So all these things we're trying to leverage for these folks. We also provide no interest loans for people to pay off their arrears, and we will pay it directly to the landlord or to the utility provider. And we want to ensure that these loan repayments are sustainable for someone's budget. So if someone's really living on a tight budget, you only need to pay us back $5 a month. And you're gonna be paying us back for maybe 5 years, whatever it is, but we don't wanna overburden you. We do a 1, 3, 6 month follow-up with the participants just to see where they're at, hoping they're still stable in their housing, and see if any other supports need to be put in place. Moving on to shelter diversion. So this program is like our triage housing program. And so basically we have remote offices or our housing workshops out of EPL. We run out of WIN, the Women's Shelter, Native Healing Center, Red Road Healing Society, and then within our community space. So if anyone is like having any kind of issue with housing, they come see these housing navigators first and they figure out where they fall. Are they eligible for any of our internal programs? Okay, perfect, let's send them off. If not, what other external supports can we put in place? Or maybe it's something that our housing navigator can deal with right away. For example, we had one folk come in and he said, I'm so worried my landlord's gonna evict me because I'm putting too much stuff on my balcony, but like I have no space in my unit. And so we said, okay, let's see, can we get you a storage unit and arrange some moving transportation for you? Sure, that was done within the week and now he's okay. He's not at risk of eviction. Supported referrals. So supported referrals are for those who are currently houseless. That could be couch surfing, living in shelters, but the main barrier for them is financial startup. So as you know, we need to get a first month's rent, damage deposit, possibly home insurance, groceries, furniture. That is a lot of money, right? Especially if you're living on a tight budget. And some people, that's all they need. Once they get housed, they're stable. They don't need too much more support. And so this is where this program comes in. If someone has a place, let's say we had someone the other day that was living with roommates, they were paying them some money, but the roommates kept on being like, we're gonna kick you out, we're gonna kick you out. Oh, no, you can stay for a little bit longer, that kind of thing. So obviously the guy's not too stable in their housing. So we said, hey, if you can find another place, we can help you with first month's rent, plus we can help you with home insurance, plus get you a package for groceries. And so he came back a few days later, he had a rent report from a landlord, and we got the ball rolling. Once housed, these participants will receive 6 months of over-the-phone follow-up. So again, we're really trying to ensure they're stable in their housing. And we want to ensure if someone comes to us and the rent is $2,000, but they're only making $1,000, we're going to say, okay, you know what, this isn't a sustainable solution for you. We won't be able to help you right now. Here's a list of more affordable places. Go check them out. If you can find something that's sustainable within your means, we'll definitely support you. Now, our outreach housing team, these are the people, these are the staff that's on the ground. These are people working through the encampments all across the city. These are people that are actively engaging people that have been chronically homeless or houseless for many, many years. And they need a lot more support. So that example that I gave you, when they don't have a phone, the clothes that they're wearing is mismatched, they haven't had a shower in a while, these are the folks that we're helping out here. And the housing worker will organize any kind of viewings. They're going to check out viewings. They're going to landlord relation. They're going to advocate for these folks. They're going to drive them to the viewings. They're going to make sure they're set up with income, ID, all these components that are needed for housing. And so once they find them a spot, they do all that landlord relations, advocacy. We got the keys, perfect. We pay first month's rent. We get it fully furnished through Fine Furniture. And then we refer them off to another team. So we have 2 other teams, intensive case management follow-up teams that will work with them for 6 months to a year and a half to ensure they're stable, or they're trying to support them into maybe permanent supportive housing if that's a better fit. So these are the folks that are really on the ground for the whole housing component. Our last 2 intensive case management housing first programs is Homeless to Homes. So this is, as I mentioned, ICM, that's a language in all the Housing First models. And so it's providing really intense care to make sure that someone is well supported and well connected in the community. So getting them, you know, someone's on income support, they should be on AISH, bringing them to the doctor, getting them on AISH. Or if someone actually wants to find a job, but they need to go through a work program, sending them up to a work program, looking for jobs for them once they're ready, help them with resumes. So this is really, really trying to ensure that our goal is after that 12 months, after that 18 months, they're actually stable by themselves and they're well connected to the community where they don't need us. And sometimes this is even just building away from that isolation. So we have someone, we brought them to church, and now that church community is huge and his mental health is a little bit better. And so this is where we try to really stabilize. And if we see someone isn't a good fit for private housing, then we would put them on that wait list for permanent supportive housing. And as we know, it's a long wait. So that's why sometimes they're in our program until they get approved for that. Encampment to housing is very similar to the previous program I just talked about, but it is very intensive supports. It's the only program in Edmonton, only Housing First program, that really specializes in high intensive supports for people that have been living rough for many, many, many years. So we had one folk that was living rough for about 10 years. Our outreach housing workers found him under a bridge. And so this would be a perfect referral for us, because in that previous program, workers maybe see them bi-weekly, whatever it is, a more minimal amount. This time you're seeing them 3, 4, or 5 times a week, just to make sure they need that stability. And they have many, many complex needs. So staff have lower caseloads and higher level supports, and many of these folks do get transferred out into permanent supportive housing, or we also transfer them to another ICM team after 6 months, 1 year, to get a little bit less support, but still ongoing support for another year. I know I told you guys this was information overload, so I'm rushing through these, but this is the last program that I'm going to talk about. Hope Terrace, very exciting. It's actually the first facility in Canada that offers 24/7 support for those diagnosed with FESD, which is the fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. It's a beautiful building. If you guys ever want a tour, contact me. Check out our website. You can contact their manager. It's on the south side near Bonnie Doon. So there's staff on site 24/7. We have an occupational therapist. We have case managers. So we're really trying to increase their daily living skills, and it's more of a permanent setting. So we've seen exceptional successes from Housing First. So we've seen a lot of folks connected to Indigenous cultural supports. 56% of those 3,000 people that are currently unhoused are Indigenous, and so we want to make sure that they have those supports in place. So many of our programs have a cultural support worker to bring them to ceremony, to bring that connection back. We have art classes, Indigenous art classes. We did 2 medicine picking events this summer. And so making sure that that is part of the program. We've seen families reunited. We've seen, you know, people on AISH, permanent supportive housing, people gaining employment, many, many successes. But of course, we've also faced a lot of challenges and barriers, and a lot of those are out of our hands. So we have challenges like lack of affordable housing, lack of permanent supportive housing, the cost of living increase, as you guys have probably all seen or witnessed yourself at the grocery store the last few years. Prices have skyrocketed. Energy prices have skyrocketed. And so a lot of these external factors, low vacancy rates, landlord relations, sometimes we call a landlord like, hey, we're from Bissell, immediate hang up. So we have those challenges that we have to deal with. Barriers, people have very complex needs. They have histories of trauma, they have histories of addiction, substance use, intergenerational trauma. So dealing with those factors can be difficult. We have people moving in and then they're completely isolated. They're used to that community, that encampment community where everyone is like a family, their street family, and now they're in a box by themselves for the first time. And so now they have to deal with all these other factors that they never had, they had kind of brushed before. Also barriers, we see hoarding, we see guest management. So a lot of these things we have to come together. Bissell is amazing for our teamwork. So we come together to deal with these challenges. We have weekly meetings where we say, hey, you know, we're working with this person, they're dealing with this, any suggestions? And we all come together to brainstorm, okay, yes, let's connect them to this resource. Let's do this, let's meet them tomorrow. So that's one thing that I love, love, love about Bissell is our team. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you so much, Katrina.